fun misinformation.
From 2019 up until today, we actually didn't collect any salary from the company itself.
I can finally have a salary.
Dear shareholders, good afternoon, and welcome to this week's episode of the Uglywood Company podcast. We're your hosts for today, Glennard
And Nicole. So Glennard, what are we talking about today?
Today we'll be talking about the annual general meeting for
Yay!
the year of 2024. This is where we'll be unveiling the Brave New strategy to overturn the disastrous effects of last year's Brave New strategy.
Boo.
As you can see, we are dressed in our best business outfit. And today we'll be talking about our annual general meeting. Okay, what does that mean? We'll be going through all the different highlights from 2024, as well as all our different statistics, numbers, all I'm sure what you're interested in, our revenue and our expenses for the year of 2024.
This is a very transparent company.
So our company, as the founder, I believe in radical transparency, and this is why we are sharing all our numbers here with you today. Okay, so without further ado, let's go on to our highlights.
Yay!
Okay, so
Woo!
so one of the highlights from 2024 is we managed to accomplish our very first offsite workshop. So what exactly is an offsite workshop? An offsite workshop for us, we define as a workshop where we conduct for more than 10 people. In this case, Singapore Chinese Girls' School, their Girls' Brigade team, they have invited us to teach the students how to do a bit of basic woodworking in order to get their craft badge. I don't actually know what's the name of the badge, but they are trying to get some kind of craftsmanship badge, and they have invited us to conduct some classes where we are teaching them how to use simple woodworking hand tools to make keychains out of upcycled wood. And that's an accomplishment for us because it's the first time we managed to go on site out of our studio. It's the first time we have conducted to a large class of, in this case, I think it was 20 to 30 students plus a few adults, right? So this was really something we felt it started us on the right path of trying to acquire a different kind of service and product for our potential clients.
Question.
Yes.
Question.
Yes, the person in the grey blazer.
Is there a reason why, like, to let the audience know maybe, is there a reason why you got them to do keychains like as the product?
So our workshops, we have a lot of communications with our client, especially so for this one because this is our first offsite. So when we spoke to the coordinator, who is an adult volunteer of the Girls' Brigade team, what they told us was that they wanted to make something small, something they can bring home, and something that they could make extra of because they wanted to use it as a souvenir for one of their upcoming volunteer appreciation events. So that's when we had this idea, okay, we have a lot of upcycled wood, why not we make them into kind of pieces that are easy to use, easy to work with for the beginner students to make into something that they can both keep for themselves as well as give to their volunteers. So that's why we started off with a keychain workshop. If you notice, right, this is actually not one of the workshops that's listed on our website. So it's not something that people can pick up like off the shelf. But it's definitely something that we are open to do if anyone might be interested in. This was just something that we chose for their case because it was something that works best in their use case.
But this will be more for like corporate workshops, right? Not so much of our own in-house workshop. Because it's actually quite fast. If you just do one or even two keychains,
so
it's quite fast.
This we have not fully formatted it into what might look like a 2-3 hour workshop in our class. So at the moment, it's only meant for large groups. Not necessarily corporate, but always large groups. Okay? Can.
Another question.
Yes. The person with the short hair.
What since this was our first off-site workshop, right? What were some challenges faced?
So the very first challenge we have faced, right, is that we weren't able to find a venue that fully suited our use case. So
you mean they didn't allow you to use the school in the first place?
No, they allowed us to use anywhere in the school grounds,
Okay,
but we actually were not using their classrooms. So you can see from the photos, right? It is actually kind of a ground floor, semi-outdoor area, right? So we are actually on the ground floor. It's actually one of their sheltered buildings downstairs.
It's like an assembly point?
It's similar. It's an indoor sheltered assembly point, but it's right next to the parade square, so it doesn't have any walls. One of like we talk about the venue, right? One of the things that happened was in the middle of my initial demonstration, it started raining, so I had to bring all my like tools and all my equipment, all my wood from the outdoors where we were just putting them like on the trolley, and we had to bring them inside. So that indoor space didn't have a nice kind of layout for us to do this kind of teaching. The good thing is that the students are kind of very adaptable, they are very resilient. So when faced with a challenge like this, all they had to do was just kind of squeeze in a bit tighter, have more people do on the same bench. And then they would sprawl themselves out around the area. So that was something that was very interesting to learn. Okay. But no questions, I will move on to our next highlight. Okay, so with that very first introduction to our offsite, we managed to snowball that experience, and we conducted more workshops. This time, instead of secondary school students, we actually did it with the elderly. So these participants are actually the elderly members of an organization called Lion Befrienders.
Yay!
So the Lion Befrienders, you might have heard us speak about it in our earlier episodes 2 or 3, where we were talking about working with them over the course of a few workshops. So how this works, right, was that we were called on by the Lion Befrienders organization, their staff, and they actually requested for these members to learn some of the woodworking. They have actually expressed some interest in learning craft outside of their normal sequence of activities, their normal series of activities. They told me that they've already done a lot of kind of like arts and craft painting. They've already done quite a bit of cooking, even some music. But woodworking was something they have not tried, and they approached us to see whether that was something we could provide. And we did. We ran a series of 4 workshops with them. And each of the workshops, they would be building up their skill sets and their familiarity with the tools, as well as the wood that we use with them. So that it would be plywood and pine. So this workshop is also very, very interesting, right? Because there were actually 2 different centers that approached us. So both workshops were held in Clementi, but they were actually they were coordinated by different centers. So one would be in Clementi Block 420, which is in charge of a cluster of blocks of elderly. The other one would be Block 344, which is its own cluster of elderly, right? So with this class, this was when we brought on more trainers, more assistant trainers with us. So each of the class, for 20 packs, we would have at least 2 trained staff with them to guide them on what's the next step, or like how to operate, or how to do certain techniques. So this was really the second highlight for us, because it was a much more formalized organization. They had a much more they had more expectations of us of how we should conduct such activities. But I think we managed to meet the center as well as the participants' expectation. So that's something that we are very proud of.
Question.
Yes, the one in the large glasses.
So like same as just now, right? Like why you choose the keychain. Then for this case, is there a reason why you decided to do planter stands? And also, more importantly, you decided to do it in different levels of difficulty rather than just one universal planter stand for everyone to do the same thing.
Okay, so thanks for sharing that. So as our Asker has pointed out,
Questioner.
right? As our questioner has pointed out. So in the series of 4 activities, what they did was in the first day, they would get familiarized with their tools and they will make 2 simple equipment or jigs for them to bring home. The first one being a cutting block or cutting guide. The second one being a sanding block. So these 2 things, they are not products in and of themselves, but they will eventually become tools that were used for day 2, day 3, and day 4. In day 2, they would make their first product, which is a simple tray made of plywood and pine. Okay, so this is to get them kind of used to the actions that we'll be taking. And then in day 3 and day 4, they will actually learn to make a planter stand. So planter stand or a display stand where you can put kind of mini succulent plants or even toys like labubu or any toys that you might get from the blind boxes. Right, so all these small figurines, they could be used for the display stand. So how it works, right, is day 1, day 2, they will be following a set of instructions. But day 3, we have made the decision to give them the full creativity to design their own planter stand. Okay, so how that works, right, was we created a set of plans for 3 different types of planter stands, each with their own difficulty. And after the first 2 days, the members who are participating, they will get a sense of how much difficulty they want to take on, how much confidence they have in their own skills. And that was something that we wanted to let them express themselves a bit through day 3 and day 4, the planter stand workshop. So the other issue, okay, not so much the other issue. The other challenge we wanted to pose to the participants, right, was that we wanted to let them have a feel of what it means to design their own furniture, design their own product. Because as we talk about a planter stand or a display stand, right, not everyone has the same requirements. Some people might say, oh, I want my planter stand to fit a certain nook in my house. Some people might say, oh, I need my planter stand to be this tall because I want to put these books, A3 books, A4 books, things like that. So we wanted them to be able to experience what it means to measure and design for real life application rather than just following a set of instructions, following a recipe. That's why we made our planter stands in a certain way. You can see from this picture, right, there is a mix of the designs that they were using in the planter stand. They were all slightly different.
There's one that's not your design, right? The green shirt lady.
Correct. So this one, she made her own. She combined the day 2 and day 3 design. So this one was, again, right, we talk about expressing your creativity. For this one, this is the most challenging difficulty that we have, the Z shape. So every class, there's only 1 or 2 people taking on that challenge. But it's always very interesting because these are always the people who have the most confidence in what they do.
Okay, another question.
Yes. The lady in the blue undershirt.
Okay, so were there any lessons that you learned from the Girls Brigade class that you brought it over to your Lion Befrienders class that made the LB class easier to conduct?
That's a very good question. So I think the most important lesson, right, was having a few pairs of hands to help you.
Okay.
Because not just in terms of their direct assistance in moving equipment or teaching instruction, but you also want, it's also more comfortable, it gives you more confidence, right, when you have assistants who are also supervising and making sure things are going safe. Safety is always our number 1 concern when it comes to any kind of workshop, whether it's in a studio or offsite. And in those situations, we always want to make sure that all our assistants are trained and confident enough to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Okay. So that is the number 1 lesson.
Okay.
Okay, Ken. So with that, we'll move on to the last highlight of 2024. So we also talk about our furniture building. So one of the things that we actually conduct in our studios, right, is custom furniture, right?
Whoa.
So this lady, I won't name her name, but this lady actually approached us to say, hey, I have a very unique idea. I wanted to know whether you could help me make it come true. So she wanted, I believe she's a very avid surfer, and she wanted to make a bar table and a matching benches to fit her passion of surfing. So we made actually a surfboard bench and table. So this was something that was quite a challenge, because not only is this a unique, complicated shape to do, it was also something that she was only doing by herself. So this entire workshop, right, she was funding and participating by herself. Usually people who come for a custom furniture workshop, they tend to come as a pair or as a couple, so that the two people will do either two small objects or one large object together. So I think the fact that she has managed to accomplish this entire set of one table, two stools, and one bench is really, I commend her for doing so. Yes. So, Ugly Wood Company, we always like to conduct this kind of custom furniture workshop, because every single workshop presents a unique challenge to us. In our custom workshop, we have never repeated a single design, because every design is intended to fit the needs of the user. So for that reason, we always need to communicate, discuss, and design our projects very well, even before they step in. So that's really something that we are proud of, and that's why you can see it in the highlights for 2024. Okay, so yes, question from the lovely lady.
So you said every workshop you will encounter different unique challenges because every design is unique.
Yes.
So in this case, what was the unique challenge faced?
So in this case, the unique challenge for us was because the surfboard was quite big, quite long, right? But it is also curved. So that means that the normal distance you had to create your table, right, the normal depth and span, they weren't really applicable in this case, because they didn't have, a surfboard doesn't have corners. It just has like this thin oval shape.
It's like a leaf shape.
It's like a leaf shape, correct. So we needed to kind of work around what makes the most sense for their table. I think what we ended up landing on, right, was that we made the tabletop thicker and heavier. So it's actually double thickness.
Oh, okay.
So that it would rest on the table well. It wouldn't feel like it is actually likely to tip over once we have set the table legs properly. Sometimes if the tabletop is too light, right, and the legs are heavier than the tabletop, it might tip over easily, especially for long,
when the
awkward shapes.
tabletop is too light.
When the tabletop is too light.
I thought it will tip over if the tabletop is too heavy. Like you press down on one side and then it
correct.
topples.
So you're right for regular shapes. So if you think about a surfboard, right, most of the weight is in the center because that's the shape of an oval. Most of the area is in the center. So by having that center being heavy and the sides being light, it's not likely to tip over. But the entire thing being an even weight pressing down, it means that there is no one corner that's like, oh, it might slant one way.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's something that we are very proud of. Later on, throughout our presentation, you will get to see more of our different furniture builds and custom builds. So maybe we can hold all questions until then.
No.
Okay, so moving on to the most exciting part of our annual general meeting, which is the revealing of our statistics, our numbers, our quantity, our volume, our cost, our revenue.
Our blood, sweat, and tears.
But before we do so, we would like to share some assumptions with anyone who might be participating in our annual general meeting for the very first time. Okay, so assumption number 1. There is only 2 people running the show. Okay, so please temper your expectations. In terms of achievements, we might not be as successful as some of the larger shops, but we are proud of what we did in 2024. Okay, assumption number 2, we did not earn a lot of money. So the way Ugly Wood Company works, right, is that for the first 2 years that we ran full time, and all the entirety of our part-time business from 2019 up until today, we actually didn't collect any salary from the company itself. All of the profits that would get from the customers, it rolls back into the business directly. So on our side, in terms of living expenses, what has been happening, right, is that Nicole has still been doing full-time work at her job, which she loves, and I have been doing a part-time job as well, teaching at SIT, Singapore Institute of Technology.
Which you love?
Which I am ambivalent about.
I don't know what does that mean.
Which I'm neutral about.
Okay.
And so those have been covering for our living expenses. That is a sacrifice we knew coming into starting the business, or rather, that is a sacrifice we knew coming into the business full-time. So that is something that we are prepared to do. But that being said, that's something that we are working on very hard. But please do not expect there to be a lot of profit. Okay, assumption number 3. What people might think, right, is when you start a business, you will be hustling, especially during the starting years. In the case of our business, life got in the way quite a bit in 2024.
In a good way.
There was a bit of a mess with, like, wedding. Some of our staff needed to get wedding.
Was good.
Some of our staff needed to go on honeymoon. So we actually lost quite a lot of productivity because of that. So as a result, the number actually went down during those months.
But it was a good honeymoon. Don't say it's negative.
Okay, all joking aside, 2024 was a very eventful year for us. Even if that meant productivity going down for the business, I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
I would say it just so happened it got in the way, I think.
It was going to get in the way no matter what year it was. It was going to get in the way whether it's 2023, 2024, 2025. Because you cannot plan and coordinate your personal life with your business, with anything. If this was a corporate job, if we were in a MNC, right, you will just take leave and you'll just disappear, and then the work will go on. But going back to assumption number 1, there's only 2 people running. If the 2 people are not running, then it's not running. Right? So, all joking aside, things happen. Okay.
Life happens.
Assumption number 4. Our numbers are not going to be perfectly accurate. Okay, I want to say they are 80%, 90% accurate. As much as my personal passion of Excel is driving this project or driving this accounting, there will be some kind of missed gaps here and there, right? So as much as we try to do, we try to be accurate, but it happens that it may not be perfect. We are not being audited. This is not intended for any kind of audit. For legal reasons, this entire slideshow is a joke. So please do not take this as any kind of evidence for anything of any kind.
Why would you even come after us? We're so small. Come on. Let's be real here.
Okay, so without further ado, we will move on to, again, the most exciting part, the numbers.
Yay!
Okay, so performance, how did we do in the year of 2024? Okay, so 2024, we have ran 13 memory box workshops. So this is not participants, this is the number of workshops that we have run. We have ran 13 memory box workshops. We have done 12 side table workshops. This was a lovely photo taken by one of our ex-participants.
Very nice.
Okay, and a staggering 49 serving board workshops. Okay, so in total, the arrow gone. Okay, so technical error. This is supposed to be an up arrow, but every time you see green, it just means up. Okay, but in total, we have brought in a revenue of $8,800. Which is an increase of 246% from 2023.
Woo.
Okay, in terms of
2023, we were already doing full time, right?
Correct. We have already done full time starting from March.
Okay.
In 2023.
Okay,
so,
just to clarify.
So apples to apples, right, is 10 months versus 10 months, even though it's not the same 10 months.
Okay.
Okay, so custom workshops, like we said, we talked about the surfboard workshops earlier. We have also done a few other custom workshops, just like this one with a pair of bedside tables made from rain tree. This is also a lovely project by a lovely couple. In total, we have done 9 total projects, 9 total custom workshops. So if I'm not mistaken, these do not include offsite workshops. They are only custom workshops at our studio. And in total, we have done the 9, collecting $7,700 of revenue, which is an increase of 141%. Not as much as last year, but still more than double.
Woo!
Okay. And lastly, our actual offsite workshops. So besides the 2 that we talked about, we also were invited by Bucket House Preschool to help their preschoolers make a very unique craft project.
Which is there.
You can see some of the photos there taken. It's lovely. They also made a lovely video. You can find it on our Instagram. But moving on, in totality, we have done 6 different offsite workshops, and that has brought in a revenue of $12,000. Okay, we have never done any offsite workshops in 2023, therefore we have no comparison in terms of data. But all that being said, it's still more than anything else we have ever done. So good job to the operations team. Round of applause. Okay, and then next.
It's just you.
Say again.
It's just you.
Good job to me. Okay, so let's talk about our next kind of pillar of work, furnitures or installations. Okay, so large furnitures. Generally, everything we put in this category, we are referring to things that we build in our workshop and ship out. So there is no client involvement in terms of the woodworking side of things. Right. So with that, we have done up 5 different furniture / installations projects, which brings us to about $2,700 worth of revenue. And that actually represents a decrease in 61% compared to 2023.
Wow.
2023 we actually had a lot more kind of furniture builds. Surprisingly, 2024 that wasn't the case. We have also done a few small retail items. So if you again see on our website, you will find a few items like our serving boards for sale, our coasters for sale. For 2024, we have only done 11, but we've actually had the 2 big bulk orders that bring up the revenue significantly. One of them was the lovely chopsticks that we've made for one of our clients. These chopsticks were actually given out to as appreciation gifts for our clients' clients. Right. So our client's actually a financial agent, and he gives out these gifts as a lovely kind of birthday / appreciation item. So if anyone is interested in things like that, please do let us know. We are always happy to increase this percentage more.
Yay.
Okay, and then lastly, ad hoc services. So also every so often we will get interest from the public to make kind of very small items or just very ad hoc services. So things like ad hoc services would just be as simple as, oh, I need to cut my tabletop from 2 meters to 1.8. Okay, so we are very selective about the ad hoc services that we provide. So as a result, we didn't actually collect any data on it in 2023. We only started collecting in 2024, and it's not intended to be a significant kind of business pillar in any way. But we just wanted to include here for completeness sake.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, what does our numbers look like?
Woo!
Okay, so when ranked, this is what you can expect. You can see that there is very clear bulk of our workshop there's a very clear bulk of our revenue being originating from workshops. Most importantly, our large group workshops or our offsite workshops, followed by our custom workshops, and then the individual workshops. Okay, in terms of furniture, in terms of small items, they really lag behind compared to everything.
But small items did better than the side table and the memory box workshop though.
Correct, but the thing is, if you compare like that, right, the small items represent a lot of small items. They are like serving boards, signboards. But these 3 workshops, they are all different. They are the same workshop, but just split into different categories. Because one of the reasons for doing this analysis, right, is just to take a look at kind of what makes the most sense if we ever choose to discontinue anything, or if we choose to push something even harder. So that's really something that we are looking at. Okay, so these are all the revenue that's coming in. Any questions?
Were you surprised by any of the numbers?
I think the most surprising is the large group workshop. I think because in my mind, right, I categorize as, okay, we have medium-sized workshop in April, we have one medium-sized workshop in, I want to say July. So for the secondary school and the preschool, right? So in my mind, they weren't a very big proportion. I think I factor them as roughly bringing in the same as a furniture piece.
Okay.
But then near the end of the year, we suddenly had this huge interest in workshops, and it's conducting for also a large number of participants. So later when we see, right, you can see how the breakdown of this revenue and expenses by month. And that's where you see, oh, actually a lot of it is coming in the later half of the year. Right. So I think that was more of the surprise.
Then another question. Is there any category that you thought will do better, but it didn't do as well as what you had expected?
I think in my mind, right, we conducted a lot of serving board workshops. When you look at just quantity wise, the fact that there was 49
always serving board
49 different sessions, right? But yet it is barely double of the side table. I think we had how many? 12 side tables.
It wasn't a lot. Yeah.
Compared to 49 serving boards. You get the feeling of, your time really worth the effort if you're looking at such a big range.
Oh damn.
I thought that was something that we might need to relook at for 2025. But for now, I think everything is still in place. We are still doing things as per what we were doing in 2024. Okay? Yeah. So this is all the revenue. I'll move on to the next number, which is our expenses. Okay. So expenses, painful.
God damn it!
Painful but necessary, because a lot of these expenses, right, were actually this year more so than 2023. We actually invested a lot more in scaling and increasing our access to opportunities, right? So just a quick breakdown. The way we do our costing is based on these categories: machinery, tools, and consumables. They form the blue category. Machinery being any kind of equipment that is powered or requires a battery. Tools being any kind of equipment that is not battery powered or not electricity powered. So you might think of a machinery as perhaps a table saw, a drill, powered screwdriver. So those will be your machinery. Tools will be things like your handsaw, your rulers, your erasers, things like that. Okay, and then
I thought those would be consumable.
Actually, eraser should be consumable. Yeah. So yeah, consumables would be things like erasers. So in woodworking, things you might not think of as consumables, right, would be things like your drill bits, because they get blunt and they cannot be used anymore. Things like your finish, because every job requires a certain amount of oil or certain amount of a cleaner. Things like, what else do we use as consumables? Sandpaper. Sandpaper is another one. Anything else?
The spirit.
Yeah, cleaners lor. Solvents and cleaners.
Cloth.
Yeah, things like this. So these are things that, gloves. So things are things that you don't think about. Masks, any kind of PPE that is disposable. So these things fall under consumables. Okay. So then you go on to the green section, right, which is all your material. So obviously, being a woodworking company, most of our materials are in wood. Bulk of it, price-wise, is in hardwood. So any kind of solid wood, followed by plywood. Surprisingly, we had less plywood use in 2024. I expected more actually, but we had less requests for plywood in 2024, and then followed by any other miscellaneous materials. So those will be your cardboard, acrylic, sometimes things like hinges, things like those type of materials.
But I would say that because our projects are mostly done in hardwood in 2024.
We did do a few plywood projects. I didn't showcase here, but we did do a few plywood projects. But
I mean, given the number of, like, for example, the serving board workshops, you would have
those
that's where the contribution comes from.
Those do eat up a fair amount of material. So you have your green section, which is all materials, and then followed by your red, which is for marketing, which our dear colleague Nicole, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, will talk about later.
I thought I stepped down already.
Former 2024 CMO will be talking about more, but we ran this much. We ran $1,600 on ads, followed by $1,300 on marketing / podcast, It can be equipment, it can be subscriptions, it can be any kind of services.
Mostly
But,
equipment.
Maybe we'll share a bit more about it later. Who knows? And then you also have your white areas, which is your subscriptions. No, actually subscription is red. It's just very light. Subscriptions, your admin, and your transport. Right. So transportation, obviously, they run a certain amount of cost. Admin and miscellaneous, they are just costs that are very hard to classify in one area or another. Right. So off the top of my head, I can't really say anything. But other than things like administrative fees, things that you need to pay to get like licenses and all that, so that falls under admin, right? So all these, a lot of numbers, but I think just to simplify everything, right? If we look at our revenue, this is the total revenue we got from 2024, a fantastic increase of more than double from 2023. But likewise, also an increase in cost. Okay, so we also increase our cost, our expenditure from 2023.
Oh man.
But I do think that having the growth in revenue outpacing the growth in expenses, I think that's a very good sign. I think that means that we are growing. And all in all, I think the whole company has done a fantastic job.
We deserve a holiday.
Okay, so any questions from the audience? Okay, no questions, then we'll move on.
I don't think so.
Okay, so another thing that we will do, right, is we benchmark where our seasonal periods are. And woodworking is surprisingly quite a seasonal business because there are actually a lot of busy periods before the major holidays like your Chinese New Year, your June holidays, your Christmas period. But surprisingly, during the actual holiday itself, business tapers down. Right, so what that tells us, right, is actually that there has been a lot of interest before or during the holidays, but they are not scheduling their activities for the holidays itself.
Yeah,
that's what we are noticing.
It's quite surprising, quite interesting find for us, I would say.
Correct. That's that's really interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing also want to take note, going back to kind of what we said earlier, our down period, for one reason or another, March, where we were doing our wedding prep. So maybe just to give a bit of context, our wedding prep, right, we actually went to Bangkok to prepare some outfits and some miscellaneous stuff. So we were actually away for, I want to say 2 weeks. And when we came back, there was still more things to do, but roughly speaking, we were away for 2 weeks.
That was 1 week only.
1 week plus.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in September, we had our wedding. So the actual...
the revenue is just zero.
Yeah, the actual lead up to the wedding plus our honeymoon. Our honeymoon stretched into October. No, it started in October and it ended late October. And somehow...
But we got money in October.
And somehow we managed to collect a very high revenue. To be fair...
Where did that come from?
No. So what happens, right, is, to be fair, right, that revenue should be spread in November, December. Because back in 2024, right, we were still not using like a consistent kind of accounting system. So I calculate based on when I issue the invoice instead of when I either do the event or collect the invoice back. So even though that number states October, right, the event will actually held, the Lion Befrienders workshops were actually held in November and December. So it's actually more accurate to push it all the way to December. So again, right, the numbers are just an estimate. They are not intended to like be very concrete proof. But as a signal of things, I think it's still kind of quite effective. Yeah, so this is just a quick breakdown of the two things.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Any questions? The girl with her mouth open.
I inhale a lot. I want to ask, is there any months that you thought will be a high? But I feel like it was probably the holidays, right?
Yeah, we had this discussion earlier, right? So when I discussed with my CMO, Nicole, so what we were talking about, right, is that we were expecting a larger influx of business during June and December, perhaps July.
And December, right?
June and December technically it did match lah. It's just that because the peak looks like
okay.
But I think June we really expected more, and it was very quiet during June, and we didn't have a very good explanation for why June was so quiet.
I think it's just people out of town.
Perhaps. Yeah, perhaps people are. I remember coming across some videos, some TikTok of so F&B kind of owners, right? So F&B generally they're all very small business owners. They in this year, Chinese New Year 2025, they were saying the whole of February is almost nobody. I believe that speaks to what you're talking about when you say they're all going holiday. Nobody's in Singapore anymore, nobody's eating anymore, nobody's working. So some of the F&B are in like corporate places. So if nobody goes to work, nobody's buying lunch. Yeah, so that could be the case. We might be looking at tuning our operations a bit more
the marketing
around
efforts.
the holidays instead of at the holidays itself.
Right.
So so this is kind of the entire breakdown of the performance matrix that we have. Okay, so let's move on to our next speaker, our former Chief Marketing Officer 2024, Miss Nicole Chang. Can you please come up to speak? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the floor is yours.
I'm very sweaty. Okay, so good afternoon. So I will continue to talk about the marketing, which, to be honest, I didn't really prepare much, so it's gonna be on the fly. Okay, so we have a few marketing channels that we use. So it will be Google Ads, which I have talked about it before in our previous episode, and also website plus, what is domain?
It's just a website.
Okay, it's just website. I don't know why he put website plus domain.
No, because domain is a separate cost.
Oh, okay.
It counts as a separate cost.
Okay, but anyway, it's like from Google Ads and the website, you can see that the cost to run the ads per month was about 100. We limited to about $100 per month, and then like obviously you times 12 is 1,200, and then this is the price to pay for the website, like the domain price. And then we have generated around $27,000 from these two. Okay, so for Instagram, we ran a advertisement, like a Instagram campaign from June to July. So that is the cost for the ad, which is it. So for the 2 months, we spent about $300. And then after that, but the thing is, for this revenue generated, right, because this revenue generated is based on across the whole 12 months. So actually this amount generated is not just based on the ad. It's from the 12 months it's from the 12 months of 2024, basically. So that's why there is an asterisk there. But I would say that for the Instagram ad, we only ran it for that short period of June to July, because afterwards we realized it's not really generating as much Instagram inquiries that we thought it will. Because like from what Glennard had said, right, we thought that the high period will be during the June holidays, but apparently it wasn't, based on the graph that you have seen just now. So we stopped after that. And the 300 is based on, I can't remember how much per day. But we didn't spend a lot of money. We didn't really spend a lot of money on the Instagram ads because it was just to kind of like test water.
Yeah, it was our first serious
first proper Instagram advertisement.
Campaign.
Yeah.
Previously it was just like single ads. Or
like we boost a certain post.
Single boost.
But this one we had like a proper
proper plan,
a proper picture, all the discount code, everything. Yeah. So next is TikTok. Nothing is generated. Let's move on. So TikTok is free to use. But also we didn't get anything from, like, there was no messages from TikTok, and nobody has mentioned that like, oh, they found us because of TikTok. So we just So that's why it's 0. We just use that as a form of like a content generation, and also just to spread awareness of our brand. Yeah. And we didn't like spend any money on TikTok as well to like boost any posts. Okay, so lastly is third-party platforms. And in terms of the cost, it's more of a commission kind of cost. So when we put up our listings on their website, and then when people sign up for our workshops, the platforms, they will take a certain cut from the amount that we have generated. So that is the cost for this third-party platform of being on the platform. And the revenue generated is after minusing the costs that they have taken out. So from this, you can see that like the main bulk of our revenue generated is from our Google Ads and the website. So how we get this number is from like calls to Glennard's phone number, any email enquiries. Is there anything else?
Form submission.
Form submission will be on the Squarespace website. Yeah. So, and also again, right, we didn't actually set up any proper Google Ads tracking thingy to kind of see whether if it's really from the Google Ads. So we just take it as like, because the ads themselves, they have our Argue Company email account and also Glennard's phone number. So whoever calls him or whoever emails him directly, we just assume that it is through seeing our Google Ads.
Or the website.
Yeah, or the website. So the form submission, they were on our website ma.
Yes.
And then they just submit a form through our contact form, our contact us page.
My understanding is my phone number only, or the company's phone number only exists on the website or Google Maps, which Google Ads does value add to that.
No, we have the Google Ads. I have a particular.
That's what I'm saying.
Phone number.
No, I'm saying like only these two have my phone number, like Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah. So the rest. So why we say the Gmail, it can be from Instagram or anything, but the phone number itself, it will only come from Google Ads and the website, because those are the only two places where we list your phone number. But email, it can be from Instagram, but we wouldn't know. Yeah, so for simplicity, we just count it under, it's just based on the website and the Google Ads. So any questions?
So I was wondering, right, when you say third-party platforms, like what does third-party platform mean? Is it like another social media?
Okay, so third-party platforms is not really another social media. It's more of something like Airbnb, something like that. So where you can host your workshops on such websites. And then how they earn money is through getting a cut from getting like a commission from your.
So something similar to like aggregator lah.
Sorry?
Something similar to like aggregators.
I don't know what's an aggregator.
They consolidate all these. It's like travel agent.
Something like that. Yeah. It'll be something like that. Yeah. Any more questions?
I think that's all.
Okay, then I move on. Okay, so this is the campaign. So this is the campaign that I was talking about, where we ran from June to July.
Oh, it says May to end June.
Oh no! Okay, sorry. Correction, May to end June. Yeah, so we ran this workshop. It's like a bring your friends campaign. So basically the objective of this workshop was to hopefully have a larger group workshop, like a larger group in-house workshop, because we slowly saw that if there's only like a single person coming to do the workshop, it's not really, in terms of effort put in and revenue generated, is not that much. Like the ratio is not that much. So in terms of effort put in and the revenue generated, it will be best, it's the most optimum when there's a lot of people attending the workshop. So that is why we have different discount codes to show that if you bring one friend, you have $20 off. Then if you bring more friends, you have like a higher discount off. So Yeah, but it's just limited to 4 packs. Then yeah, so this is what we did for May and June because we were kind of targeting the June holidays. But surprisingly, this was a failure. And
why would you consider it a failure?
because we only had 2 users of discount code. I was expecting more, I think.
I was expecting more.
I think I was expecting more.
The total
It's quite
300.
disappointing.
I think the total $300 we put in, right? I think the number of people that ended up using the discount code, I think the dollar amount only 300 plus. So basically that like 2-digit number was our quote unquote profit from this campaign. And that doesn't include like your cost of materials, all those things. So it was, I mean it was an experiment that proved the effectiveness of IG lah.
Oh yeah.
So I don't have any I don't feel like remorse towards this effort.
Okay, yeah, I would say that like after this campaign, right, I think it's safe to say we probably wouldn't use IG anymore. We probably wouldn't use IG as a marketing channel. We will still post there, but it's mainly just to kind of update what we are doing so that it is still a good platform to show people that like, okay, this is what we have been up to, what are our latest projects. It's still a good way. It acts like a catalog, like from our profile. But in terms of like,
it's more for awareness lah, not so much for sale.
Yeah, unless we're doing it wrong and we don't really know how to optimize it. Yeah, okay lah. So I would say that there's still some lessons learned to this. It's not all that bad.
What are the thoughts moving forward with regards to campaigns?
I would think that like we should probably do it earlier than the school holidays. Like for example, if it's June, I think we should probably do it like April or May.
But will we still do the same idea?
The bring more friends.
Yeah.
That's for the future us to decide. I think we can look into it. We can circle back this conversation. Any more questions? Okay, good. Very good. So moving away from like the marketing, so you have seen how the marketing worked out for this year. I mean last year, like 2024. So what we have set out for our company goals, right? For 2023, our goal was to break even or like low to zero loss. And it was a success. Yay, confetti. Okay, so then 2024. So because we want to be better, so our goal was to have $1,000 per month profit. And I would say it's a success.
Actually, we are
with an asterisk. because of the 2 months of wedding prep and honeymoon, right? So if you were to have the whole thing, like the entire profit or revenue, like divide by 10 instead of divide by 12.
Profit.
Okay, the profit divide by 10, divide by the 10 working months that we had. Technically, we achieved this goal. But if you divide by 12, we actually didn't achieve the goal.
Okay, so actually a bit of like tidbit into this, right? A bit of nuance into this, right? Is we were only $12 or $22 away from this being a success without the asterisk. So
really,
we were like, I think $12 or $22 away from like $12,000 profit. Like if you go back and check like that slide right on expenses versus revenue, that is almost $12,000. It's like 11,900 something. So it's like,
so it's not that bad.
Yeah, but that being said, right, like I remember we had this conversation at the end of 2023 also. We said that this was established in 2023. Like we knew at the end of 2023 coming to 2024, right, that this year was going to be 2 months kind of like write off. So we didn't kind of write this asterisk after the fact. we did know ahead of time that
but we wrote this success after the fact.
Yeah, but we put the star one. That's how we
this one.
defined it. What we define this success
okay.
factor based on.
Okay, but I would
what
say
we
we're
knew.
pretty close. So
I think we did quite good, honestly.
okay. No, too loud already, too loud already.
Please clap.
Okay, so moving forward, 2025, a $3,000 per month profit. And this one, it will go into Glennard's salary.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't eat bread already.
I don't eat bread already.
No, we still eat proper food, don't worry.
I can eat bread with peanut butter.
Yeah, so this would be considered fair wages because so we talked a bit in our previous episode on like what is considered fair wages. So we feel that the $3,000 would be a good
starting point.
Good starting point.
Are you confident of achieving this success in 2025?
Now it's March, right?
It's the last day of March.
Okay. As of recording, it's the last day of March. I mean, seeing how seeing your tracking of what has been done, it looks promising, but I will keep my expectations low. Will we close the company if we don't achieve this? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, what if it's 2,900?
Oh, then I think yes lah.
You close the company?
No, I said that one no lah.
Yeah, we'll probably close it.
If it's 2,999.
Yeah. If it's 2,999, just that $1 short. I donate $12 to you.
Oh, I found $12 on the floor.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, very achieve. Okay. Moving forward, what is our strategic pillars of 2025? This is a very nice slide. I like this format. Okay, so we will focus more on offsite workshops because as you can see, that is where most of the revenue comes from. So it makes sense to continue doing this. And how we'll do it is we will be more proactive in reaching out to corporate clients. So for example, schools,
agencies,
maybe more LBs, I don't know.
Organizations, yeah.
Maybe more senior centers.
And just corporate clients lor.
Yeah. So we'll actually be more proactive in reaching out because so the previous ones that happened is actually they email us first. So then I think how that will change is we will email them first. Then because of that, we need to start building like a pool of training assistants so that so as the workshops come, we can have people to tap on when need be. Because usually this kind of workshops, I would say that it will be more than 10 people or like around 20 people. So it's quite tough for our poor Glennard to individually do the workshop because I won't be there.
I mean, yeah, you're right lah. Like one of the lessons we learned, right, is that the ideal student to teacher ratio is like 10:1.
10:1.
10 students to 1 teacher. That's the ideal ratio. And
okay.
that ratio changes depends
right, yeah.
That ratio changes depending on like the student profile. So it's like, are they all very naughty? Are they all very like disengaged?
Actually, not even student profile. I would say your training assistant profile also.
That one it is in your ability to influence.
I think you need to do a very good screening.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So far, you know 1 out of 2 of the assistants other than yourself.
Oh.
Of the one, I mean, you never see her work before, right?
No.
Can I mean, find one day we will all meet up.
Okay. Yeah. So the last one will be establishing a proper supply chain. So what that means is basically building up stock for the wood supply that we have. Like because basically just building up stock. So in case a workshop comes, you can just go.
all these things are just shoring out on the weaknesses from 2024 lah. All these things are the things that we are lacking in 2024. We don't have a proper supply chain. We just
buy as we go.
Buy as we go. Then if the company don't want to supply us.
Yeah, because ultimately we're still like a build to order kind of company. So yeah, so we'll try to change that in terms of like having wood planks ready to use if let's say like a workshop were to come. Yeah, because sometimes like we never know, like the workshop could come in like the next 2 weeks or something. So yeah, because the dates are already fixed and we cannot do anything about it. Then the pillar 2 will be focusing more on workshops over like furniture builds, because like as you have seen, that is where most of the money comes from, or like in terms of effort wise, the workshops bring in the most money compared to like the amount of effort put in. So it's not that we won't be doing any more builds, but it's just that we will not be centering our marketing efforts towards those builds or towards furniture builds. But if anyone were to approach us, we can still do that. Is there any asterisks to that?
No, it's exactly what I said.
Okay.
If people request us, we will do it.
Or it's not like depending on the complexity.
That one is true regardless, whether it's workshop or furniture. They cannot ask us for something we cannot do, which we have been asked before.
Okay.
They will just tell them we cannot know, like for some reason. Like we will explain the reason, but we'll tell them that we are not the right place for them to do.
Okay. Yeah. Then we will try doing like Airbnb experiences, like putting our services more on like third-party platforms to see if we can have a greater reach. So there's like Airbnb, I don't know about Klook, but yeah, something like that. And the next one is digital marketing. So what that means is we will try to generate more articles. So if you guys don't know, we actually have articles on our website as well. So that not only helps to, like, you can kind of read more about it if you want to get into like woodworking, that kind of thing. But it also helps us to, it improves our SEO search on like Google and all those. So what SEO is basically putting your name out there on Google. Yeah, you become more searchable on Google, I think. Yes, the guy in the black blazer.
What does SEO stand for?
I don't know. The post-production the editing Nicole will put in the meaning on maybe somewhere here. I don't know. That's for future me to decide. Okay, yeah. So basically, it's to generate more awareness of our brand, and also because we currently do not have like a landing page for corporate orders. So how these corporate orders actually are coming in is actually through our contact page. So they just email us that they want to do certain things, but so that actually creates some I would say inconveniences, because they cannot read at once. They cannot like read somewhere like what we offer and all those kind of things. So you need to go through a lot of email correspondences, which can be a bit tedious or like it's quite slow at times. So we are thinking of making a landing page for such corporate orders, and then we can put in like past examples, we can put in what to expect, yeah, that sort of thing. And also like create a catalog for our services, I guess. Is there anything to add on for this?
No, it's just clarity.
But it'll be on the website, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We haven't updated our website like meaningfully in the last, I think, 1.5 years.
Oh no.
The last time we did it was like 2023 June-ish.
But yeah, like we'll have maybe like a catalog style kind of page that can show you, like, it's like a one pager, I would say, that like can show you what we offer, what are the prices, what to expect, that kind of thing. Yeah, a one pager. And lastly is content creation. So So with this podcast, right, it falls under this content creation because other than just doing like other than dipping our toes into long form videos, we also want to use these long form videos to kind of generate more clips to use for social media, so that it creates a more sustainable way of creating content in the long run, rather than just coming out on the fly of what to create. And then we also film more B-roll to use for the same thing like social media, and also like establishing a more sustainable schedule for consistent marketing, so that I look to you, Glennard, because I am not the chief marketing officer anymore. So Glennard, this is all yours. But to be honest, I still contribute to it. I cannot take my hands away from TikTok already. You realize I have been posting, right?
Social media addict.
No.
Social media addict.
No. No, but I will still occasionally post on social media, like on TikTok, on Instagram. But yeah, any question?
Are you confident that we can do all 4 pillars?
I think pillar 1 and 2 maybe can, cause it's more on operation side. I have faith in our operations.
Cause all got money.
Yeah. All like
Content creation no money. Digital marketing no money.
Money is a good motivator. No, but I would think in terms of operation side, I have faith in our operations manager to carry out all this. Yeah, I think it's a easier goal to achieve compared to content creation, because content creation is something new to us. It doesn't come to us very naturally.
That's true.
So,
we've done operations for 3 years plus. Content creation we've done for half a year.
Yeah. And operations you can kind of do it like at your previous job also. So that's like the years of accumulated experience. But like content creation wise, is like it doesn't come naturally to us. I don't know if you can tell, we're not that natural in front of the camera. But yeah. So that's the end of our annual general meeting. Can I have the previous speaker come up? You're feeling scared.
Okay, and before we go, every week at the end of our podcast, we like to give our users, our audience, unsolicited advice. So this unsolicited advice is going to be very targeted. It will be coming from me. Okay, my advice is, if you are ever going to a public swimming pool or any kind of outdoor activity, and you have the Telegram app, there is a channel on Telegram that lets you see whether there is a lightning alert, and it is very useful. Okay, so with that unsolicited advice out of the way, thank you very much, and we will see you in 2025. Thank you for listening to the Ugly Wood Company podcast. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode. In the meantime, if you're interested in booking our services, please go to our website at www.uglywoodcompany.com and use the coupon code UWCPodcast for 10% off. That's UWCPODCAST. Links in the description. Till next week!